arrival was almost unspeakable.
We are all evil in some form or another. I'm not guilty.
The dead won't bother you. It's the living you gotta worry about.
If I couldn't keep them there with me whole, at least I felt that I could keep their skeletons.
Hello and welcome to the Bad Taste Crime Podcast. I'm Vicky.
I'm Rachel.
And we are back to a very exciting couple of episodes.
Oh my gosh, it has been a journey.
It has.
And we have not stopped believing.
Oh my gosh. But now we are back to our regular programming.
Yeah.
Just the average,
average everyday murder.
Normal true crime stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're here for single stories, this is it.
You'll be delighted.
Yeah.
This one's for you.
Yeah. I'm going to apologize in advance because we are currently recording in a thunderstorm, apparently.
Yes.
So if you hear any of that in the background, we're sorry.
It's probably my stomach.
Yeah. Or that.
Rumble.
Yeah. How are you today, Rachel?
I'm doing good. I'm a little damp.
Yeah. You had to run outside in the pouring rain a second ago.
Had to move my car.
The things we do. So
I'm just
sacrifice.
Of course. For the art.
For the art. Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm ready for summer.
Absolutely.
I've been thinking I can't wait to get on a lake. Any lake. Just any lake at all.
Way down yonder on the Chattahoochee.
Yes.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
just
we're pretty smack dab in the middle of what Chicagoans call Fool's Spring.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, it's super warm one day and the next day there's snow. There's snow warnings for tomorrow. Did you know
I
that?
know. Yeah.
That makes me so mad.
Of course, they always come on a day that I have to actually drive into the office.
I know. Seriously.
Like, God damn it.
It's like never when you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yup.
All right. Well, we are going to head over to the newsroom.
Let's go there.
Fit to breathe, our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad.
This week, our news comes from The Independent. It comes from, Washington, D.C., I think. Well, it comes from a couple of places. Okay. So this is the headline that drew me to this piece of news.
Tell me.
An Atlanta bagpiper died while scuba diving. The skeletal remains of his missing son were then found on his property.
Okay.
Yeah. So on March 10th, a guy named Henry France Jr. died while scuba diving in Maui, Hawaii. And so his family is like going to settle all of these affairs at his estate.
Yeah.
And they discover inside of a treehouse on his property the remains of who they believe to be his missing son.
Oh my God.
Or I'm sorry. Yeah. His missing son.
Wow.
28-year-old Hank France. They say that he went missing 4 years ago. Police are like, we don't really have a missing persons report for this person.
Oh.
But they have gone and let's see, the remains are indeed Hank's. Okay, so the medical examiner has said, they're confirmed to be him.
Wow.
But they luckily, because it was basically bones, but there was some hair still left, so they were able to run some DNA testing. And this honestly, it leaves more questions than answers.
Yeah, that's crazy. You never checked the treehouse?
I guess not, but I don't know if when he went missing, but they didn't report him missing.
That's weird.
So
that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know that.
That's a crazy headline.
Yeah, there isn't anything really on whether there is a connection or is not a connection.
It's probably
or if
still
it's just
early.
Yeah. Because they just found these remains, but
wow,
it's pretty weird.
That sounds like a documentary in the making.
It's pretty weird. Yeah,
absolutely.
Be interested to see if they update that
too.
case and see. But I'm curious, how much investigating they're going to do with two parties dead,
being deceased,
and the owner of the property dead. Well, the former owner of the property dead.
I guess it'll depend on what the family wants to do.
Yeah.
I'm sure if they want to push forward that it will.
Yeah. And they're going to have trouble determining cause of death.
Yeah.
And because they've been there for 4 years.
Right.
So anyway. Yeah. So that's interesting. We're going to move on to Netflix and Kill. Ooh. This week we're talking about, honestly, something that when I was watching it, I was like, you particularly, Rachel, would really like this.
Ooh.
It is a documentary called American Conspiracy: The Octopus Murders.
What?
It's on Netflix.
Oh my God.
looks at the death of, it was in 1991, writer Danny Casolaro. And when he died, he was doing an investigation into conspiracy theories of this supposed international cabal that he called the Octopus.
Oh. He's very like Hydra from Marvel.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And so the guy who is making this documentary then sort of finds he has this friend who sort of has become obsessed with Danny Casolaro over the years and like his research, and has kind of like picked up the mantle of his research to see if he can find out what was actually going on. Now, what this has to do with is the U.S. government and it talks about this software called Inslaw. It was from Inslaw, but it's the Promise software, which was kind of like the first software that they had that was for, let me see if I can remember this. I think it was like a case management, like evidentiary type of software.
Oh, okay.
To track stuff for like
sense.
Department of Justice.
Yeah.
And then they like screwed the guy out of payment for the software. And they just said like where the government were taking this. And then it became a whole thing.
How topical.
But Casolaro was finding connections between Iran-Contra, this Inslaw Promise thing, the 1980 October surprise theory. And so there's been a lot of questions around whether his death was actually a suicide.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
If he got octopused.
Right. If he got octopused. Exactly. Honestly, it was really, really interesting. And like the connections are crazy because it spans many years. It spans a lot of big sort of controversial things.
Yeah.
But it's heavy on conspiracy.
Right.
Which I know
right.
I know you love.
I
know
do.
you love a good conspiracy.
I do.
I do too, honestly.
I do.
As long as it is somewhat believable.
Right.
There are
right.
some that I'm just like,
No,
okay,
completely.
that sounds absurd. But like, yeah, I get down on a good conspiracy. Honestly.
I like the one where they think Avril Lavigne's been dead for years.
Oh my
and
God.
that she's been replaced.
And
by
now
a
she's
couple.
like, I'm here to tell you I'm still alive.
Yeah. Why would they
I'm still
bother
alive.
to do that?
Or that
is
Leah
so
Michelle
silly.
can't read.
That's true.
I like that one too.
I think that one's probably
that
true.
one cracks me up.
It's my favorite one.
I love that.
I
It's
love when
just
people
so
make
absurd.
mean videos about her and they're like, well, it doesn't matter. She can't read
Yeah.
this. It's my favorite
My
thing.
God.
She
It's
deserves
just, but
it.
that I love because it's so absurd
Super
that it's
silly.
like, okay.
And like, you know, it's not nice, but it doesn't really hurt anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I
Agree.
love it. So
Love those goofy
definitely check it out.
That
It's
sounds so
called
cool.
American Conspiracy, The Octopus Murders. It's on Netflix. It's a good time waster. I think there's
Yeah.
only 4 episodes. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's like a
it's nice and
perfect
short, yeah.
amount.
This is that part of the show where we say content may not be appropriate for all listeners. This week we'll be talking about some murders.
Yeah.
I have some discussion of suicide. I don't know, anything.
I have some.
It's not the most brutal thing in the world, but you know.
Right. I have like, I just vaguely touch upon it, but there's a little bit of child abuse. There's a little bit
yes.
of sexual
Yeah.
abuse. And
Child death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're not feeling up to any of those things, maybe
That's
skip
okay.
this one, but that's okay. If you're still here, then today we're talking about poisoning.
Ooh, poison.
That girl was poison. Yeah. So we are talking about poisonings. Why? I don't know. I just felt a call to me.
It's a good topic.
It's a pretty good time. I mean, there's lots of them.
Yeah, there is a lot.
And one of the things we talked about on one of our last episodes was that poisoning was a very like feminine crime back in the day.
Yeah, the women's weapon.
Yeah.
Like aqua tofana. Do you know about that?
No.
So there was an old, I'm not sure of like the time period, I think medieval, but an old like Italian lady who would make this poison for women that she would call aqua tofana because women had no rights and they couldn't
Yeah.
get divorced or whatever. So she would give them these little tiny bottles and be like, yeah, here you go. This will solve your problem. And they would poison their husband, their abusive husbands.
damn.
And so she's known as like kind of like a feminist icon because it's like, what else are they going to do?
I mean,
You know?
you got to work the system you're in, I guess.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're talking about poisonings today. And I want to start off with the tale of Sarah Jane Whiteling, aka the wholesale poisoner.
Ooh.
So Sarah Jane Whiteling was originally born in Germany. This
Okay.
is according to her. And
Oh.
I see a lot of people point that out. Like, according to her, she was born in Germany. So I don't know
Yeah.
if there's a question as to
She's a lawyer.
her nationality or if, like,
Maybe she wasn't a very truthful person. So they were like,
well, and
Were
this is
you?
all happening in the 1800s. So, like,
oh, for
the
sure.
records and stuff are not
Oh, completely.
totally solid.
That makes sense.
And if you were born in Germany and brought over as a child, as a baby, like,
yeah, then maybe you would
probably would have
say-
sounded like American.
Totally.
Spoke English without like an accent or,
totally.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
who knows?
Yeah.
But a lot of people were like, well, that's according to her.
Allegedly.
Neither here nor there. Yeah.
Allegedly, Sarah.
But at some point she ends up in the United States. Don't know if it was with her family, if
Uh-huh.
she like came over as an adult. It was not totally clear.
She's like, I'm here.
Here I am, US. Take me in.
Yes. I'm ready.
Eat your heart out, United States. But in 1868, Whiteling married Tom Brown in Iowa.
Very normal name.
Yes, Tom Brown.
Tom Brown.
Before moving to Chicago. They stayed there until a very major event rocked Chicago. Do you know what would have been happening?
Would it have been a warm and toasty event?
It would have, yeah.
Certainly involving
Yeah.
a certain cow, perhaps?
Certainly, yeah. Now, beginning on October 8th, 1871, a fire, which broke out at a barn belonging to the O'Leary family, began rapidly burning, spreading for 3 days.
Crazy.
The legend goes that it was a cow in the barn kicking
Like a lantern
like
over.
a lantern over. Yeah. If that is true or not, we'll never know.
Damn
But it
cow.
did start at the O'Leary barn. But yeah, literally burned like a shit ton of the city of Chicago.
I went on
to
a
the
ghost
ground.
tour there, and they
Yeah.
still have like the buildings they'll show you that have been damaged, and like the stones and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah,
the
it was
impact
crazy.
it
And
had.
it changed the landscape as far as
Yes.
architecture goes. Because like
Absolutely.
everything was made of fucking wood
Right.
at the time.
Which
and they were
fire
like
loves.
Right. And it was an incredibly dry season. And they were like, oh, I guess we shouldn't make our buildings out of all of
No.
this flammable material.
Not. Maybe
Who knew?
not.
Advancement. That's how we get technological advancement.
Thanks,
Large
Cal.
fires.
Thank you, fire.
Yeah. So this became known as the Great Chicago Fire,
Yes.
of course. And right after this event, they had been living in Chicago at the time that happened. And following this, they were like, we're going to go.
Understandable.
We're going to get out of town.
We get it.
Yeah, to a more fire retardant town. And they moved to Philadelphia, which is primarily made of brick.
Great. There you go.
Just gotta put that
They're
out
like
there.
knocking on all the
Yeah.
buildings, like, oh, okay, this is the place.
And even now, if you go to Philadelphia, they still have the original neighborhoods, and a lot of it's still like the brick paved roads.
I love that.
And brick houses and buildings, like the original buildings and stuff. So, like,
Pretty.
you know, I feel like less fire, less of a fire.
If
answer.
it works,
Yeah.
don't fix it.
Now, this is when like the first little bit of crime enters the family.
Not
so
crime.
while they were in Philadelphia, Brown, Whiteling's husband, was arrested and convicted of highway robbery.
Oh my God, don't do that.
He was sentenced and sent to Eastern State Penitentiary, where it's the first penitentiary built in the United States. It's in Philadelphia. If you are like an OG listener, in episode 10, we did an entire episode. If you want to learn more about it, this is when like
Whoa.
Wani first moved to Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
And I had gone out there. That was one of the first places we visited was Eastern State
Oh,
Penn.
how
And so I took
cool.
and did some recordings
go
at the
there so
prison.
bad.
It's very, very cool. I've since been back there because they run a haunted house.
Yeah, I want to go there.
Out of the penitentiary. It was very, very cool. Been
I
there
want
for
to go
that.
on a ghost tour.
Yeah. It was cool. It's a very, very, very cool, unique structure. And the way that they set it up, because they set it up like spokes on a wheel, basically. So they had like a central tower and all the jail halls.
Right. Like kind of
Like
branched
the,
outward.
yeah.
Exactly.
So you could just look down one and see what was going on.
I've seen so many like ghost investigations there.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I know it.
Yeah, they definitely, I know. They've definitely done it on Ghost Hunters for
Yes.
sure. That was like the first one that was a really good investigation, actually.
They are good.
Yeah.
Like you have to admit, they
Yeah.
are good investigators.
Yeah, I was into Ghost Hunters when it first came on TV.
Absolutely.
I'll admit that. So he gets sent to Eastern State Penitentiary. Unfortunately for Brown, he would die there also. from, I don't know, 1800s.
Yeah. He got a
From
small
it being
cut.
the 1800s. But Whiteling was not a nun, and she was not going to sit around.
Absolutely.
So she went out. She met another man named Thomas Story, who owned an oyster saloon, which we now call an oyster bar. It's
How
the same thing.
cute.
I know. I love that oyster saloon.
Oyster saloon.
They had the two of them had a daughter named Bertha, but they never got married.
Ooh,
which is
scandalous.
very scandalous.
Very
So she was born
scandalous.
out of wedlock.
What a hussy.
At some point, they break up, and Whiteling is forced to move again. This time, she meets a man named John Whiteling, who she would eventually marry in 1880. And at the time of their marriage, Bertha was already 9 months old, which is very scandalous.
Oh, wow. She's
Like-
just like, is she showing her ankles too? This lady's
I know. I mean, maybe
crazy.
that's how she got the man. I
Now,
don't
you know what?
I don't know. Show a little ankle.
These man catching ankles.
But that would have been like the fact that she was a single mom.
Right.
And had a child out of
Like
wedlock.
unheard of.
And that another man would be like, sure, I'll take care of your kid from another guy.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
That's
the man
crazy.
that stepped up. So sweet.
yeah. 6 years later, the Whitelings had a son named William Willie C. Whiteling.
Aw.
Call him Willie.
Willie Whiteling.
The family continued on happily for another 2 years when tragedy strikes. On March 30th, 1888, John Whiteling dies suddenly.
Oh my God.
Initial reports from the attending physician, Dr. G.W. Smith, said the cause of death was inflammation of the bowels. Now, these are all going to be very, like, old-timey diagnoses.
Right.
Just so everyone's aware.
Yeah.
So, inflammation of the bowels. Luckily for Whiteling, her husband had taken out 2 insurance policies.
Oh, wasn't that thoughtful?
I know. One with John Hancock Financial and one with the Benevolent Order of the Buffaloes, netting her a whopping $230. And that would be, it's around $7,600 today.
Okay.
Now, they were living in like extreme poverty.
I was going to say that was
It was
probably the
extreme
most
poverty.
she could get. I mean, he could get.
Yeah. And, it's hard to say like when he took those policies out.
Right.
But the fact that it was only $7,600, I remember I was like, oh, this has got to be so much money when I
That's what I was
put it into the
thinking.
thing. And I was like,
Like 2 separte policies?
yeah, $7,600 is not that much, but they were like living in extreme poverty.
She
So
probably got all they could get.
yeah. Whiteling was questioned about her husband's sudden death, to which she claimed that he had committed suicide.
Oh.
It was,
By inflaming his own bowels?
I guess.
How'd he do that?
Yeah. I mean, it was the 1800s, and that was like sufficient enough for an investigation.
Oh,
they were like, okay, if you say so.
Bye.
All right, thank you. Sorry to bother you, ma'am. We'll let you get back to the kitchen.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that was basically the length
for
of
these
the
sandwiches
investigation.
to go.
Yeah, yeah. Do you mind making me a tea before I leave?
Yeah, really. A very special tea.
Yeah. Now, a little less than a month later, Whiteling's daughter Bertha died.
Oh.
This time, it was claimed she had typhoid fever, as
Okay.
she had been in and out of seeing the doctor in the days prior.
Okay.
Although sad, Whiteling again was able to dry her tears on her cash because Bertha also had a life insurance policy.
Wouldn't you know it?
Administered by John Hancock Financial. It paid out $122,
Okay.
which is about $4,000
Okay.
on a baby. Well, actually, I'm sorry. She would have been like 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there at the time of this.
Bertha.
I think she was 9 years old.
Okay.
It seems like Whiteling's family is cursed at this point
Yeah.
because they are just like dropping like flies.
What could it be?
And there is no possible way that they could be any unluckier.
Oh my God.
Well, then you haven't been paying attention. Because another month later, her remaining son, Willie, also died. This time having been diagnosed with congestion of the bowels.
Oh, uh-huh.
Lots of bowels.
Yeah,
stuff.
very
They're always like,
bowel-centric
have you
society.
pooped lately?
That's probably it.
That's probably it. Once again, Whiteling was able to collect on the life insurance policy on Willie, which paid out $47, which is about $1,500 today. That was the baby.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
$1,500. Again, this was through John Hancock Financial and Prudential Financial. Now, having this many family members die suddenly in rapid succession was pretty strange. Even by 1800 standards.
Yeah,
They're
kinda
like,
weird.
This is and especially when there is not like, I mean, yes, they said the daughter had typhoid fever.
Right, but it wasn't like definitive.
Right. And it didn't seem like there, was like influenza going around the house, like a transmittable virus
Right.
or something.
Right.
These people were just like suddenly dying. So police made a request to look at the bodies. Now, this is from Medium, quote, when authorities requested permission to examine the bodies, Sarah refused, citing a previous incident where doctors allegedly began a postmortem examination on her child only to discover the child was still alive.
What?
So she was like, I'm not going to let you look at my
Well,
kids.
but then wouldn't you want them to?
That's a really good point, just to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if they're still alive? What are you, a doctor?
But it
How
was
do you know?
so traumatizing to find out that somebody was still alive.
Right. She's like, that's not what was my plan.
That's not my plan.
I mean, that's not what I thought.
What are you talking? What are you talking about?
Who?
Who are you talking about?
I didn't say anything.
So she was like, no, you can't look at the bodies. But police were not the only people suspicious.
Yeah.
The multiple deaths also raised the eyebrow of the coroner, who officially ordered an investigation at that point.
Good.
Detectives immediately exhumed the bodies and sent them to a man named Professor Kefman, who examined the bodies and determined that they all contained large amounts of arsenic.
Ah, there you go.
Obviously, faced with a poisoning, authorities immediately arrested Whiteling and placed her on a suicide watch once in custody because she was like, I have nothing to live for. I'm going to kill myself.
Right. Understandable. They're like, nah, you're going to go to this trial, girl.
Yeah. In some places, Whiteling was said to have had a physician visit her in prison due to, quote, nervous prostration.
Oh.
Which is a very old-timey diagnosis used to describe symptoms of profound fatigue, weakness, insomnia, headache, irritability, anxiety, depression, difficulty concentrating, and physical aches and pains.
That sounds like my everyday.
That literally just sounds like being alive. I am like,
Literally.
so you're just describing like existing during
Diagnosed
a day?
with life.
Well, good news. You have nervous prostration.
Yeah. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, go take
got
that to
my
your
prostate
doctor and
taken
be
out.
like, listen, someone told me I had nervous prostration. Can you
My
tell me a little
prostate's
more
making
about
me
that?
nervous.
Yeah. Oh, God. They'd be like, I'm not the doctor for that.
So you probably don't have one of those.
Yeah.
Duh, because I got it removed.
Yeah, right. Now, this is often attributed to chronic stress, trauma, overwork, lack of sleep, poor diet, or substance abuse.
Also, again, just an everyday.
Right? Just being alive. Now, I want to read you this short article from the June 12th, 1888 issue of the New Haven Daily Morning Journal and Courier
How
about what happened next.
cool.
Because I love an old-timey article.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a journey. Like,
Oh
they're
my
always
God.
really good. It's titled A Modern Borgia's Deeds, Sensational Disclosures of Poisoning Made by a Wife and Mother. It's the title of the article.
I almost did the Borgias girl. That's funny.
There's a list of people who are like nicknamed Borgia.
Yeah.
Like that was like a category on Wiki.
God forbid a women have
I was like,
hobbies.
wow, okay. Yeah, right?
Right.
Oh my God.
What else did she have to do? There wasn't
Okay.
any cable.
So this is the article. Quote, a sensation was created in the coroner's office today when Mrs. Sarah Jane Whiteling confessed that she had poisoned her two children, a girl and a boy aged 2 and 9 years, and had furnished her husband with the poison with which she declares he took his own life. Mrs. Whiteling's victims were her husband, John Whiteling, her daughter Bertha, and her son Willie. The family lived in poverty in the rear of number 1227 Cadwallader Street, and the husband died on March 20th, the girl on April 24th, and the boy on May 25th.
Oh, wow.
Mrs. Whiteling detailed with minuteness how she had poisoned the children. I gave Bertie the first dose of the poison on April 21st, said she, and on April 24th, she died. I put one spoonful of the stuff in a glass of water and called the child to me and said, now, Bertie, here's some medicine. You must take it like a good girl. And I gave her a spoonful. It made her sick, and when the doctor prescribed some powders to be given in water, I bought the medicine, but gave her a spoonful of the poison every half hour. It made her so sick, and she suffered so much that I felt sorry, and the day before she died, I stopped giving her poison and gave her the medicine, but it was too little too late. Little Willie dies the same way. I had the insurance placed on each child a short time before they died. When asked if she had given poison to her husband, The woman maintained that he had taken his own life. I did not tell the doctor that he had swallowed poison, she said, because the insurance policy said the money would not be paid if the person committed suicide. I killed Bertie. I was afraid she would grow up in sin as she was a bad child that had stolen pennies from the neighbors and had stolen her teacher's pocketbook. The boy I killed because he was in the way. I am sorry now for what I have done and want people to pray for me. Miss Whiteling's actions with the result of an examination which proved conclusively that poison had been the cause of deaths led to her arrest on Sunday. There were several policies of insurance on the victims, each being for a small amount, but amounting in the aggregate of $369, all of which she collected, end quote.
Wow. What a bitch.
Yeah. First of all, she was like, my 9-year-old is evil.
Right.
She's like stealing. She's taking people pennies.
Again,
she's
God
like,
forbid women have hobbies.
She's fucking 9.
Right.
Like she's 9 years old. And the boy was
poor
in
thing.
the way.
Like, in the way of what?
Her happiness.
Get out of here.
I don't know.
I'm going to kick her ass.
Whiteling would later explicitly state the poison used was a brand of rat poison called Rough on Rats. She also admitted to contemplating taking her own life, but decided against it as she believed taking her own life would deny her admission into heaven.
Oh.
She would also continue to maintain that her husband took his own life.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think that they're just going to be like, oh, yeah, you killed your 2 children, but like,
Mommy, we've been waiting for you.
yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, right.
Push her off the edge.
Also,
That's
yeah, even if you get
crazy.
there, what makes you think they want to see you?
Yeah, they're going to be like, get out of here.
Like, yeah, wild.
No, dude.
I know.
This lady sucks.
Whiteling's trial began shortly after her arrest. At her trial, her attorneys attempted an insanity defense, claiming due to her mental state, they would have to give her a sentence of life in prison. The argument was pretty much unilaterally rejected by the jury, and she was found guilty of first-degree murder of Bertha. This is the only one that she was tried with due to lack of evidence on the other 2 cases.
That's crazy.
This got her a death sentence, something that at the time was very controversial, considering she was dainty little woman.
Well,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. And there were people who were like, yeah, no, we fully know that she did this, but you can't kill her. Like, we want you to release her because she's a woman.
Oh my God. That makes me mad.
Just because she's a woman, basically.
That's stupid.
Yeah. There was this huge public outcry, particularly from women, to commute her sentence. I know, which is wild to me. A bid that was rejected by Pennsylvania's governor, who instead signed the death warrant.
Good.
Just to add insult to injury, Whiteling even inherited a small fortune from a deceased relative in Iowa while she was in prison.
What?
She couldn't even get it, but she would have been rich.
Oh my God. I hate her.
Oops.
That's crazy.
If nothing ever happened with her husband or kids, she would have, like, that relative probably would have still died.
Oh, my girl.
She did it all for the money. Did it all for the nookie, man.
That's stupid.
Yeah. On June 25th, 1889, Whiteling was executed by hanging at 10 a.m. Before her execution, it was noted in many places her calm demeanor, as she believed God would forgive her sins and she'd be reunited with her children in heaven.
Womp womp.
Sarah Jane Whiteling would become the first woman ever to be executed in Philadelphia County.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So that's the story of Sarah Jane Whiteling and her poisoning her whole fucking family.
She sucks.
She does suck.
Controversial
She
opinion.
does suck.
I don't like that lady
Yeah.
one bit.
Yeah. I agree.
So your topic was poisonings.
Yes.
Very good. I like
Yes.
that. So for mine, we travel to the chic and sexy country of France. France.
Okay.
According to my Ancestry DNA report, I'm 6% French.
Okay.
So I'm sure my
That explains so much.
doesn't
No, I'm
it? I
kidding.
know. So well, I mean, I think it does. I like cheese.
Yeah, but
like-
that's living in the Midwest.
okay. That's fair. I was gonna say I like cheese and bread, but that really is just
That's just
Midwestern.
living in the Midwest.
That's
Yeah.
fair. But I will say I like the skillful way that the French dealt with their billionaire ruling class. Love that.
Oh, yes.
Very efficient.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Maybe a resurgence is in order. Très magnifique.
Yeah.
France.
They also love a good protest, I gotta say.
They sure do.
They love a good protest.
Have you been seeing the farmers just like shoveling manure onto, that's the best.
Yeah.
That is the best.
The French know how to fucking protest.
Yes, they do.
That's true.
Well, it's easier when your police don't have guns.
Yes. True. Accurate.
Très magnifique. France seems to be known worldwide as kind of a nation that is, for lack of a better phrase, kind of fancy.
Yes.
Fancy clothes, fancy food, fancy thin cigarettes, fancy berets.
Fancy thin mustaches.
Yes.
Ha ha ha.
Yes, the French seem to have a special fondness for the finer things in life. And today's subject seems to be no exception. I think it's cool that we both picked women.
Yeah.
I'll be covering the case of France's so-called Black Widow, Patricia Dagorn.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, poison is a women's game, right?
Yup. I was kind of laughing because I was looking up like the history of poisoning.
Yeah.
And there was an article that alleged, like a really good like historical article that was like, yeah, that was probably the first form of murder was poisoning. I'm like, not hitting people on the head with rocks.
Right. Not literally killing, but bludgeoning people to death.
That doesn't make sense. That's stupid.
Pushing somebody off a cliff?
Like hidden way of murder where it's like, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
But I did.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
not
There's
the
part of me
first
that's
murder.
like, there had to have been instances of people out in the wild, like pushing people off cliffs or something.
100%.
Like,
clubbing
oops,
each other.
He fell.
Pushing each other
down
from the
cliff.
woolly mammoth. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's
my
what I
gosh.
thought. I was like, hello.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Patricia clearly liked the finer things. You know, she's French. In fact, she's going with the flow.
Okay.
In fact, one of her sons, who is estranged from her since she surrendered him and his brother over to foster care when they were children, so they're both estranged from her.
Okay.
Described her as being, quote, obsessed with money. There are many pictures
right.
of Patricia. Yeah, literally. There are many pictures of Patricia that seem to validate his remark, posing on board of a nice boat, for instance, with a rhinestoned T-shirt bearing the image of Miss Marilyn Monroe.
What time period is this?
This is in the 2000s.
Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. All right.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Okay.
Yes, Patricia liked money. She also liked placing personal ads, suggesting that after her divorce from the father of her two children I mentioned earlier, that Patricia was looking for that special someone. When I picture a romantic trip to France, I'm imagining long walks along the River Seine, of course, revisiting the bread and cheese idea from earlier.
Right.
And, well, okay, honestly, whenever my husband and I get to travel, we have to squeeze in a ghost tour everywhere we go. So you know my
course.
ass would be all up in those catacombs.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like on the
I've wanted to
path.
see those catacombs for
Me
sure. That'd be
too.
crazy.
People who like break in there
Yeah.
are crazy. I'm like, just go on the regular tour. I'm scared.
Dude, there's people who have like fucking raves down there and shit.
I know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, not for me. Well, with the types of men that Patricia was seeking, a walk by the river might not have been her style. Maybe
Okay.
a game of canasta or a prune juice tasting.
She's into the oldies?
Yeah,
The
moldy
rich old
oldies.
guys?
Yes.
Okay.
She would
I see.
specifically put out the personal ad saying that she was a woman in her 50s who was alone and who was looking for an elderly soulmate.
A father figure, if you will.
Well, yeah, but not for her children who she abandoned.
No.
But
No,
just
I
for
mean like her for like daddy
She
issues.
needs a daddy,
Yeah.
which she had.
Yeah.
Which she had in spades. Mm-hmm. She would describe herself in these ads asking for this, I need an old man to spend my life with, saying that she was a young, blonde, successful businesswoman. Which the last part wasn't exactly true unless scamming old men out of their money is a respectable business model.
Oh boy.
In the early 2010s, the 50-year-old Patricia would meet at least 20 older guys through these ads. So she would place personal ads in the paper. She also used like a dating agency. And there were even men who say that she just like approached them on the street.
Yeah.
It's like, what's up, hot old guy?
Okay.
Pop your teeth out.
All right.
She would
a real gum job.
Exactly. Oh, all of that. This is the
my
gum
God.
job report. Yeah, so at least 20 older guys, some of whom would be in their
Wow.
mid-90s.
Oh my God.
I know. And that's what I said too. But then I was like, okay, well, who are we to judge? You know, maybe she likes the company of older guys. Some of my celebrity crushes are at least 20, 30 years old.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan is 56. Mads Mikkelsen is 57. Shaymar Moore is 52. I don't know. I was kind of like, okay, girl, I kind of get it. I think we should just let Patricia date her way through France's nursing homes, and that's that. Oh, well, it would be if this were a different podcast, but this is the true crime podcast, not the dating podcast. Why are we focusing on Patricia's dating habits? Because she is a murderer.
Of course.
In 2011, Francisco Filippone. Ooh. I know, isn't that a sexy name?
Okay.
An 85-year-old retired bricklayer, which means he has muscles as well. Like,
well, had muscles.
I'm into Francisco. Was found dead from a Valium overdose.
Oh,
which
okay.
At first they were like, oh, he's just passed away because he was pretty old. One of them was found like pretty decomposed in their bathtub. So they assumed like, oh, they slipped and fell, and then nobody came to check on them. But then when they eventually did autopsies,
Like
which wasn't right
and
away,
stuff. Yeah.
yes, then they determined that there was a ton of Valium. And then one of Dagorn's other lovers, Michael Kneffel, was found 5 months later in a Nice hotel, also with a ton of Valium in his blood, dead.
And where's she getting this consistent supply of Valium?
You know
That's
what?
where I want to know.
That's what I wanted to know too. I don't know how France works, but I looked into it a lot, and it was just like, I don't know, she had it. I don't know.
Cool.
I was like, okay, so I don't know if like France is one of those where it's like, I'm just buying Valium and it's fine. Or maybe she was doctor shopping, which is what I assume.
Right.
And she would mess with like their paperwork and stuff. So maybe she got them prescriptions for Valium, and then overused it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with these international crimes, I find little things like that a little difficult to track down. So I'm not exactly sure. I would assume she was doctor shopping.
For sure.
Even though Patricia was known to have been involved with both men, initially there were no charges brought against her because, again, they were like, okay, it's natural causes. That's kind of run of the mill when you're dating old ass dudes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they die.
Yeah.
But they found, so there was a man who she was dating who was at one point talking on the phone with his daughter, and she was kind of asking him about like, oh, you're like dating this girl, and there's like, what's going on? He's like, oh yeah, she's helping me with all kinds of like financial decisions. And she was like, that sounds bad.
It sounds really sketchy.
Yeah. So she went to the house and found her father, who was in his like late 80s, totally like confused, super out of it. She knew something was wrong, and she ended up taking it to the police. And by this point, the two bodies had already been found.
Okay.
But she was not. The police were kind of like looking at her, but they couldn't charge her with anything.
There was nothing like directly connecting
They
her.
hadn't gotten the toxicology
Just
stuff.
a suspicious relationship with these men.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. So, but once the daughter came forward and was like, and he says that she's giving him drugs, like what is going on? Then they were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
So they searched, they did like another check into all of the properties where the two dead men were found, and then where she was living with this older gentleman who was found super confused.
Yeah.
They found a ton of evidence, including IDs from the two men who had passed and other IDs.
Okay.
Health insurance cards, medical and legal paperwork, all belonging to her past lovers.
Yeesh.
Oh, and a shit ton of Valium.
Of course.
Now, Patty
the cardboard box of Valium in her back closet.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Just getting into little baggies. Now, Patty Girl, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
But okay, maybe she was just like handling her date's finances for them. That's exactly what she claimed, but of course it turned out that she was certainly stealing from these men, and not small amounts either.
Oh God.
Before Filippone's death, Dagorn had cashed a check from him for the equivalent of like $25,600 or 2,100,000 euros.
Okay.
And when they were like, why did he give you so much money before he died? Like, for what? She was like, I was going to open a jewelry shop. That it's a loan. He's just so nice.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. That's weird.
Like I said, they also found a shit ton of Valium.
Right.
According-
Which is like an immediate red flag.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's the drug.
Yeah.
According to the aptly named drugabuse.com, trademarks of a Valium overdose include dizziness, vertigo, uncoordinated movements, blue lips or nails, blurry vision, and a confused mental state, among other many unpleasant symptoms. Eventually, you go into a coma and you die.
Yeah.
But you can see how, like, she got away with it because a lot of that sounds like sort of the typical hallmarks of age. You're a little confused. You're having
That's
trouble
what I was just
moving
thinking.
around.
Like, it would be very easy to just pass that off as like, oh, he's
Right.
got dementia or he's starting to
Right.
get Alzheimer's. Or
especially when you have
like,
a beautiful young woman to speak for you.
Right.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep. Turns out Patricia was spiking her wrinkly lovers' cocktails with an excess of Valium, which, as I stated earlier, would leave them sickly and confused.
Damn, so they didn't even know.
All the better to steal tens of thousands of dollars from them, she must have reasoned.
Probably.
Robert Vaux, 91, a widower from Frejus, I don't know, said...
Close enough.
Yeah, whatever. Said that he nearly died after a brief affair with Dagorn. When she went to trial, he came to testify. He's so cute. I have a picture of him. Look how cute he is.
Aww.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
So
It's a cute little man.
Yeah, he's got like a cute little face.
He kind of reminds me of the grandpa from Up.
Yeah, I thought he looked like that too.
The old guy from Up, yeah.
Like little glasses. He just looks so sweet.
Yeah.
So he made the 40-minute trip to come and testify at court. This is a direct quote from him. He says about Patricia, she was like a ray of sunshine in winter. When you are with a younger woman, you know it won't last, but you don't deny yourself the moment unless you are a masochist.
Interesting. I mean, fair.
I was like, please.
Fair.
Like, it's just so sad because it's like, wouldn't you just hire a sex worker?
Yeah,
Why
but
have
not
this
everybody
whole,
wants to do
fake
that.
relationship?
Not everybody wants to do that. And sometimes
know.
those relationships are not fake
No,
either.
totally. But it's just like, well,
Yeah. There are people who
listen.
are into that.
No, I totally. Hey, I'm not going.
And I think most older gentlemen would not
would not shake
turn
a stick.
away the company of a younger
Absolutely.
woman.
Understandable.
You know.
Understandable. But so as he was living with her, he lived with her for 3 months,
Okay.
and he started to notice
This guy who came to
this man
testify.
who came to
Okay.
testify. Yes, Vox or Vaugh.
Yeah.
He started to notice that he felt sick and disoriented, and he was like kind of watching her do all these financial things. You know, like, oh, you're handling all my affairs. I didn't really ask you to fucking do that.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I should be concerned. So, and she kept telling him, oh, don't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, you're
lame.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're fine, whatever. And so he secretly went to the doctor. The doctor tested him, found that he was like, you have a shit ton of Valium in your system, dude. And he's like, I don't take Valium. He's like, yes, you do, sir.
Well, apparently,
You
yeah.
do. You're getting it from somewhere. The pharmacist was like, hey, this is what's going on. Because he was like, who do you live with? Oh, my 50-year-old girlfriend. Oh, what's she doing right now? Oh, she's like going over my will. Dude, she's poisoning you.
Right.
Like he was like, bro. And the pharmacist joked that if he survived, he could write his own romance noir. Horrible. I'm like, don't tell him to write a romance novel. Tell him to call the cops.
I mean, also that, yeah. But like after you call the cops, then write a romance novel.
Well, that's true.
But just like call the cops first.
yeah, first.
Yeah.
So
Then start writing your
during
memoir.
This whole time, like this whole romance, she had faxed like his lawyer to get all of his assets. And even during court, she was still trying to get money from him.
Wow.
Like he wasn't responding to her, but she was calling like his like offshore banker, etc.
Yeah.
Isn't that messed up?
That's crazy.
So she was initially sentenced to 5 years in prison, which seems like they didn't have enough evidence to convict her like of everything.
Yeah.
So they just took everything they could get, got her in for 5 years, and then eventually they did another trial, and she would be convicted of 4 poisonings, including the 2 deaths.
Okay.
So there was Vaugh who came and testified, and there was another elderly man who she poisoned but did not kill because he got away. They came and testified. So she was convicted of those 2 and the 2 gentlemen who died.
Do you know if the 2 who survived, did those happen after the 2 that had died?
One before, one after.
Because I'm kind of surprised if she had even one unsuccessful
so
attempt at
here's
this, that
the
she would
thing.
keep going.
So she is suspected of at least 20 to 30
That's insane.
poisonings, but they can't prove it because how many elderly people have died and their
Right.
family would just go, maybe they didn't know that he had a young girlfriend. Maybe he didn't tell them. And it's like, oh, he just died in his sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he had some money and it turns out he didn't. Oh, well,
Yeah,
that
right.
happens every day. You know,
Right.
it's kind of the, like, I don't mean any offense, but it's kind of the perfect crime.
Right.
To be honest. Like,
Right.
she really worked it out to where it would work for her.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I think probably quite a few of them escaped.
I'm just surprised that like after, even if you have one or two people that are like, oh, I found out you're trying to poison me, I'm gonna go now. Why would you keep going?
So none of them went to the police.
yeah, but even still, I don't know. Maybe I'm too rational for this kind of crime.
I completely agree.
Like,
A lot of the like
I don't have that criminal mentality to be like, nah,
Agreed.
it's gonna work. It's gonna work. But like,
she was
I
a
just-
messed up lady.
yeah, I just think that like after that, you'd be like, well, maybe somebody's gonna find out, and I should probably stop.
You would think, but I mean, this is.
But I guess not.
This is just what she's been. I
Right.
didn't go too into. I said earlier that I had like a trigger warning for child abuse, and then I didn't really go into it. But her past is pretty horrible.
Okay.
There's theories that because she had a mother and a father. The father abandoned her, and then she had a foster father who it's almost certain that he abused her. There's this weird thing, and again, France is a different country, but
Right.
he took her to a nude beach when she was 11, and there are photos of her like that he took on the nude beach that are suggestive. And then after
Even
that,
for France, that's very
That's what I
young.
think too. Like, and I'm not saying like
Yeah.
that that's okay or anything, but I know like they have nude beaches and it's cultural
Yeah.
there. But
It's different when you're like 16,
right.
At
like
a nude
11
beach.
years old with your
Yeah.
foster father who you're not related
Which
to.
even 16 is too young.
Is
but like,
strange.
I know it's a culturally different thing in like France
Yeah.
and Germany, like some of the European countries. Yeah.
Yeah, they like to be in the buff.
Mm-hmm.
But like, hey, there's a line. And then right after that, he abandoned her and she had to live on the streets. She had a criminal life. She met her future husband, the father of her two children, when she was like 21, had pretty much been on the streets the whole time. I think she
Yeah.
kind of just jumped at it. He abused her for many years. He was horrible, horrible to her. She abandoned the children and just kind of was like, I think this was the only thing she knew how to do.
Yeah.
Was like, I'm just gonna, there's theories because a bunch of these men who they found were named Robert, which was the name of her foster father. And I almost wonder if it was like a physical thing too. Like they looked like him or it was
weird.
just old men in general. that
That's
she was
some
like,
major daddy issues.
Absolutely.
Damn. Okay.
Like, man, fuck
That's
this guy
wild.
in particular. One has to wonder how many other elderly men
Yeah.
fell into the web of France's signature Black Widow.
Did you say that when they found the stuff at her house that it had like it wasn't just like the two that they
Correct.
It had like multiple people's
Correct.
insurance information, IDs,
Yup.
et cetera, et cetera.
And they said,
Damn,
like,
that's
kind of
wild.
another, like, Frenchy cultural thing is, like, that a lot of these men who could have come forward were, like, embarrassed. Because they were like, a woman took advantage of me.
That's
There
just
was-
honestly, that's a man thing.
It is a
I
man
think.
thing.
That is
It's
very much like a
100% a
male,
man
like you don't
thing.
want to be emasculated by having
Right.
a woman take advantage of you.
And a lot of the, like, I read a bunch of, like, translated articles.
Yeah.
Because there are some, like, American articles about it. But I, like,
Right,
translated
right.
some in French. And a lot of them are pretty misogynistic. It's very, like, how could a woman do this sort of thing? And, oh, well, the men can't be that upset. Like, very misogynistic mindset.
Yeah,
of, like,
this
well,
is
at
what you get
least-
for dating a younger woman.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was
that's
one of
crazy.
the men, not the man who I showed you the picture of, the other man who testified at trial had said that he suspected that she was poisoning him, but because they were having a sexual relationship, he figured it was worth it because he was old anyway.
Wow.
Like and like I understand that, but that's such a misogynistic like point of view of like, this is what this woman is for. It's very gender rolesy. Like, you know what I'm getting at? Like,
I
not
mean-
completely, but
I mean, kind of. Because really, he's the one getting taken advantage of.
No. I completely agree with you, but like the way they were framing it was kind of backwards.
Yeah, I
was
see
like,
what you're
who
saying.
cares?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
That's wild.
yeah. So she's still in prison.
Oh, good.
She had an appeal like kind of recently, but she's still in prison. Her whole defense was like, nuh-uh. So they were like, no.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
she
just
really
no.
didn't
Just
have
like,
a concrete.
yeah, I didn't do this.
She was
though.
like, I loved them, and I don't know if they took Valium.
I don't know where that Valium came from.
I don't know. I didn't have it.
Oh, all that Valium you found at my house.
Oh, that
that's not the
Valium?
same Valium.
Those are Tic Tacs, idiot.
Wow.
Idiot. And of course, she's also crying police conspiracy and all
Right.
that stuff, which normally
Right.
I'm all over, but I'm like, no, girl.
Yeah.
No, girl.
Oh, my
so
gosh.
that she is still in French prison, and yeah.
Fucking bug up here. Sorry.
Oh, I
Making
thought
more noise.
I was like, she is a bug.
No, she is a bug
She's a
though.
bug
she is
in
a bug.
prison.
Bugaboo.
She's a parasite.
A Paris. Yeah, literally. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you, I mean, I guess just don't poison people.
Yeah,
Let's just say
don't
that.
poison people.
But
That's not nice, you
Maybe
guys.
instead listen to this podcast.
My name is Hunter.
And I'm Haley, and we're your hosts of
Murder and Such, a podcast about true crime, serial killers, and other dark subject matter. Join us while we fill your ear holes with some crappy comedy and disgusting tales.
You can now find us on Spotify,
iTunes,
Stitcher,
Podbean,
and all of your podcatcher services. You can like us on Facebook, Instagram, and follow us on Twitter.
at Murder and Such.
Hope to hear from you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Rachel, that has been our episode.
Yes.
Another one in the books.
In the books.
So exciting. I'm ready for a nap, man.
Me too. Oh
Probably
my
won't get
gosh.
to take one, but I'm ready for it.
It's raining. It's time to snuggle
Yeah.
up.
Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, definitely don't poison people.
No.
And if you need money, killing people with poison is not like the route I would go. Like just me personally.
No, get Bitcoin.
You know.
I'm just kidding. Don't do
okay.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a scam.
Live your life.
On that note, our sound and editing is by Tiff Fullman. Our music is by Jason Zakshevsky, the Enigma.
Woo.
This has been the Bad Taste Crime Podcast. We will see you in 2 weeks. Goodbye.
Bye.
Women had left their bodies on the hillsides along the highway. It was as if a wave of evil washed over this town.